on Thursday night. If you haven't heard, people, Thursday night, Detroit Lions at the Kansas City Chiefs. The season begins with the Chiefs defending their Super Bowl crown against a team that a year ago, if we'd have known that the Lions would be the team to open the season with the Chiefs, we'd have said, what, did everybody else say no?
You know what is interesting about that, Mike? So in training camp, I spent a half hour with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was like my favorite guy on this trip. I didn't know him before we sat down. I had talked to him once, but I did not know him. And he's a very bright guy. For those who don't know, Amon-Ra grew up in a bilingual house, German mom, American dad, and essentially grew up speaking 3 languages because his mother wanted the kids exposed to all these languages. He ended up taking the SAT in German, French, and English. So he's got a little something to him. So what we ended up talking about was, I said, man, because what I wrote about out of Detroit is, are you guys ready for prime time? I know you finished 8-2 in your last 10, and everybody here is excited. The day I was there, it was rainy, and the line to get into training camp was like a line to get into a Taylor Swift concert. Not really, but something like that. And so that day, I asked him basically, are you ready for prime time? And he answered me in a very, very honest way. And I'm just going to read you one of the lines he said. He goes, I'm not meaning about going to Kansas City opening day. He said, I'm not saying we're going to go out there and win. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just glad we have an opportunity to show we can do. Obviously, I think we're ready, but we have to prove it to everybody. We have to go out and prove it every week. And so they feel it. They feel the pressure. They feel America looking at them saying, what are you guys doing in the opener? And Mike, this is a big show of faith by Howard Katz, Hans Schroeder, Mike North, and Roger Goodell. There's the scheduling team and the commissioner. A huge show of faith that these are not your father's Lions anymore. And they're not your grandfather's Lions anymore. They're your great-grandfather's Lions, going back to Buddy Parker and Bobby Lane in the 50s. So they have a huge gamble right now next Thursday. And look, you'll have plenty of time to talk about it next week, but I just think it is a great, great storyline of week one. No matter how much faith you have in the Lions, are they ready to go to Arrowhead in the middle of all that emotion and play the great Mahomes and the great Andy Reid, who takes plays from janitors now, apparently? But are they ready to go and compete on the highest pre-playoff stage that there is, the opening game of the NFL season?
And it really is amazing because they started last year 1-6. They turned it around. And Pete Demolitis posed this question yesterday during the show. We were discussing the Lions, obviously. The idea that, are we smitten with them? Have they become these darlings of the NFL simply because they won the last game of the regular season in prime time, as we all watched? They went to Lambeau Field and knocked the Packers out of the playoffs at a time when the Lions had nothing to play for. It was kind of like a bowl game for them. They're not going on. They're not moving on to the next round. This is it. We get a showcase. Everybody sees us. We go win the game. And everybody loves us now. And they forget that we were 1-6. They forget that we have a horrendous defense. And now the Lions have this gleam to them that you could argue other teams should have, either in addition or instead, like the Jaguars and the Steelers. Steelers made a great run down the stretch. Nobody's talking about, Steelers this, Steelers that. Jaguars made it to the playoffs, made it to the final 8. Nobody's saying Jaguars this, Jaguars that. And if I'm a Lions fan, I'm very happy my team is relevant. But at some level, I'm thinking, I hope this is a check that they have sufficient funds to honor.
I'll just say this, Mike. You talked about what we all thought, because I think we probably were waiting, I don't know, sometime around October 10th, 15th, 17th, that we were going to wake up one morning and we were going to read the headline, Lions fire Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator. And I found out, by the way, when I was there, that was never a consideration by Dan Campbell, or at least he told me absolutely positively not a consideration. They fired one position coach in the middle of that horrible defensive run. And look, at the end of the season, if you look at the final 6 games by the Lions, they gave up 19 points a game. Now, I'm not saying that's over a full season, obviously. It's over a month and a half. But the fact is, they really improved their defense down the stretch. They have 2 legitimate young pass rush weapons now. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson being the big star there. And I think their defense is going to be representative. However, it's one thing to say, hey, defense is going to be good this year, and it's another thing to have to go to Kansas City. And I'll just say this, Mike. You got to go to Kansas City and hold Mahomes to 28 or less to have a chance. I don't see the Lions scoring in the 30s. So, we'll see what happens. But this is a big day for the Detroit Lions franchise, and it's a huge day for Dan Campbell and his team, because no one really is that convinced about him. I'm going to pick him to win the division, but then again, that's kind of damning with faint praise in the NFC North. So we'll see what happens, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how they play on Thursday.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.